Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shafi'u Suleiman. Now, the role of opposition parties, especially in developing democracies, is very critical in determining the level of accountability by a ruling party and, by extension, the effectiveness of the nation's public service. In an ideal situation, opposition parties provide alternative visions, policies, and leaders to the party in power, in addition to scrutinizing government decisions, policies, and actions. Beyond criticizing the governing party, opposition parties are expected to demonstrate capacity for the ability to show the electorate they are credible alternatives to guarantee the credibility of a democratic system. At present, Nigeria has 19 registered political parties, with the People's Democratic Party (PDP) as the main opposition party, followed by the Labour Party (LP) and the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP), going by the outcome of the last general election. Of course, there are few other political parties that made some impact in some states during the elections. On Daily Politics tonight, we ask, how have opposition political parties fared in Nigeria's 25 years of uninterrupted democratic rule? Are there notable differences between opposition parties and the ruling party in terms of ideology or disposition to governance? Can they provide the needed credible alternatives to the current governance trajectory in the country? And joining us to provide answers to these poses are Professor Kamal Bello, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN, Abuja, and Dr. Sani Daouf, a senior level executive and technocrat, a Plateau State ADP governorship aspirant in 2023. They both join us virtually from Nasarawa State. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. And here in the studio, we also have Clement Oloyede, who is the group politics editor, Media Trust Group. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, okay. Now, let's take a short break, and when we return, our conversation commences. Thank you very much for staying with us on Daily Politics. And now, let's move over to Nasarawa State first to reach out to our guests. Professor Kamal, thank you for joining. Okay, good to have you, and Barka da Sallah.
Same to you.
Right. Okay, to Dr. Daouf, we also appreciate you for joining. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Shafi'u. Good evening, viewers.
Eid Mubarak also.
But the ram escaped. I couldn't send some for you.
Oh my goodness, who could have constituted a rescue team? Anyway, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
All right, okay, let me start with you right away. Looking at our topic, we're looking at the role of opposition in Nigeria, and you happen to be an opposition figure, one that has even aspired to become governor of Plateau State in the last election under the platform of the Advanced Action Democratic Party, the ADP. How would you assess, the role being played by opposition political parties in Nigeria? Let's take it from 1999 to date.
Okay, let me also add that I'm the National Welfare Secretary of the Action Democratic Party.
That's great.
In addition to being the governorship candidate, I wasn't only an aspirant. I emerged as an aspirant to become the governorship candidate. So I was actually the candidate of the party in Plateau State in 2023.
Thank you very much for that correction once again. We appreciate it. Okay, Doctor. Dr. Daouf?
Mixed ups. There have been a lot of movements in and out. You find within a short period of time, somebody is in opposition. The next time, the person probably by chance gets into the ruling party, and the next moment, the person is in opposition. So there's been a lot of fluid movement that it's very difficult to describe the Nigerian political party in terms of ideology. Because you find people moving in and out of the political parties that they belong to others for one reason or the other. Because if you look at the most people that today form the APC, they were in the ruling party as PDP. But for certain reasons, they have changed. They, of course, some of them have become opposition parties who are in PDP, and APC is now the ruling party at the federal level. So it's been a big challenge for Nigerian politicians to actually be defined in terms of political ideology, either a little to the left or a little to the right, or probably even at the center, being liberal. So that is what I have observed has been the trend in Nigeria since 1999 to date. Thank you.
Okay. Let me also get Professor Kamal to join here. You know, beyond ideology, some even see the political parties as mere associations. Not able, they're not good enough to be called political parties because, just like Doctor has said, it's a collaboration of people, coming together for the purpose of, capturing power. How would you describe the political parties, in Nigeria and what they ought to be, in a democratic setting?
Thank you very much. What qualifies a political party, as the doctor said, is ideology. Ideology differentiates one political party from the other. But in Nigeria, what we have is loose groups, just a session of committee of friends with certain interests to grab power. That is why it's easier for them to move from one party to another party. So what I'm saying in essence is that before a party could be qualified to be a political party, it must have an ideology. What ideology is a party qualifies it to be a political party. What direction is it going to qualifies it to be a political party? A political party without direction, without ideology, without focus, without distinct program, is not a political party per se. Thank you.
Okay, Clement, back in the studio, they've laid the basis for the conversation. Political parties are not based on ideology. They are mere associations, as they put it. But then we have progressives. We also have Democrats. To some extent, they have carved a niche for themselves and a direction. In fact, they campaign against each other on those bases.
I think the prof and the doctor has really set the tone for the conversation. And to pick it up from the point you're just trying to make, I think it will just be a full errand to actually believe that the name of these political parties actually mean anything in the line of ideology. Those that call themselves progressives, were they not the same people that made up the Democratic Party in the first place? Those that are shouting today that they are not they are against the progressives. Were they not part of the Democrat? Were they not part of the progressives at a certain stage? So from what has been going on from 1999 when democracy returned to the country, is actually difficult to pinpoint any political party that stands on any ideology. Just like Prof have said, it's obvious that the way political parties are structured in Nigeria are just vehicles to get to power. And that's why you see these days that politicians, after getting to power through a political party, over a flimsy excuse, they dump the party and switch to another one. You don't see this.
Even though there are, we'll talk about
yes.
that, because there are certain court pronouncements that ought to have deterred them from doing that.
But they don't. Well, I made reference to this to point to the fact that if truly these politicians join the party A, on which they contest the election in the first place on the basis of ideology, because they claim that this party identify with them, the ideology, then they will have stick to the party. Unless I forget, there are talks that even at the early stage of 1998, 1999, the two major political parties that time, the PDP and the APP, that it was the same group of persons that even wrote the manifesto for both parties. So how do you expect these two parties that are supposed to be distinct in ideologies to have their manifestos coming from the same source? So from onset, it's obviously clear that there was no plan, no plan to determine a different slant in their approaches.
Right. Okay, Doctor, back to you now. Looking at what a political party should be and the role, the opposition should play is beyond. It's not the child's play. It's very critical in any democracy, especially developed democracies. We've seen how, opposition political parties have shaped even public opinion, shaped, policy directions of governance, and so on and so forth. Why is it different with our climb? Dr. Daouf? Okay, Professor Kamal. Okay. Yes, Doctor. Did you get a question? Dr. Sari, if you're there, what the question is, we've seen, how an opposition political party should operate, and based in line with the dictates of democratic tenets. In developed democracies, we've seen how opposition political parties have been shaping even public opinion and policy direction of government, providing alternatives. Why is it different here? Okay, I think if Professor is there, Professor, you can also answer the question as well. Professor Kamal.
Okay.
Yes, Prof.
Are you referring to me?
Yes, you can also answer the question,
It's okay. Thank you very much. To start with, for us to know that, to understand what we are saying about lack of ideology, lack of direction, let's go back to the First Republic, when we have what we call Action Group, Northern People's Congress, when we have NEPU, and so on and so forth. Northern Elements Group, they have ideology, they have a focus. So we will know from there what political ideology is. In the Second Republic, go and look at the manifesto of UPN, look at that of NPN, look at NPP, look at GNPP. They have distinct ideology, and people knew why they are going for them. And it's not easy for them to cross-carpeting the way they are doing now. So having said that, the issue of opposition in Nigeria today from 1999, I think the ruling parties, either PDP or APC, because those are the two parties that have been ruling, particularly at the federal level from 1999. You will see that sometimes it's as if they muzzle the opposition. If you go to states now, go to even federal, apart from the secretariat of the ruling party, you can't see any activity in the opposition party. It's when the election comes, you'll be seeing everybody moving up and down. A renting secretariat, we're putting flags, hosting flag there, and then going to the radio to campaign. If you go to the news media today, newspaper, radio, television, and so on and so forth, even the social media, you will see that the opposition is inactive. But when the election is coming close, you will see how active they are. It's only the ruling party, either at the state level or at the federal level, that you see them even mounting billboards, same programs they have done, and so on and so forth. So those are the things that shows that the opposition is not as strong as should be. Without opposition, there's no democracy, to be frank.
As a result of monetization,
opposition will keep the ruling party on toes. You'll be criticizing them day and night, 24/7, so that they can be able to do what they needed to do. From last year, May, up to this year now, 1 year in office, I've never seen any serious criticism from the opposition party, if not the issue of, what is it called, the coastal road, that the PDP just criticized APC once. And that is all. And this should be done religiously. The opposition criticism should be done religiously, 24/7, so that the ruling party can be on their thoughts.
Okay, but
so thank you very much.
Yes, Prof, we've seen how the ruling party is also responding to some of those criticisms. You talked about the coastal project, highway project. We've seen how the government descended on former Vice President Atiku Abubakar for making such statements. In fact, some of the reactions from the government, some say are not even palatable, saying that he doesn't understand the figures, talking about the fact that he doesn't know the working, how contractual processes are taking place and so on. And then we've just seen just yesterday or so the Labour Party presidential candidate also cautioning the government on its plan to purchase a new presidential jet and all of that. And we've seen also the reaction. Is he waiting for, is he praying for anything bad to happen to the president? What would you say in respect to how ruling government takes such criticisms?
When somebody is criticized, it's trying to bring out your weaknesses so that in the next election you will not be able to come in or get popularity. So definitely, the ruling party must also not keep quiet. He must find a way to answer. In those days when we were young in the universities, we go to the television so that we can see the criticism. Radio, we listen. What is the criticism of this party? What is the reaction of those who are criticized? And we take it. Those of us in the political science class, even some of our lecturers give us as an assignment. What did this one say on this? What did he say on this? Even the level of criticism these days are somewhat pedestrian. They don't have facts and figures. That's why the reply of the ruling party is also not having facts and figures. It's weak.
Okay, Dr. Sanidao, if you are there, Professor raised a very important concern that political parties, opposition political parties, hardly function in Nigeria because perhaps, they are somewhat muzzled by the ruling party as a result of, perhaps the fact that they are lacking in finances, or perhaps they are also
sometimes patronage.
So they cannot influence anything.
Maybe they are not given any position.
Concern. Okay, Dr. Dow. Okay, I think you can answer that question now, Clement.
Yes. Prof raised vital points, especially as it comes to finance of the political parties. Yeah. Most political parties that we have in the country, if they are not in power, you notice that they go back into their shelf because of the way our political system, because of the way our electoral system are so monetized, that after election, the winner takes all, and the losers have to recline into his shelf.
That is if they even go to the shelf.
Yes.
Some of them will have to.
That's what I'm saying. They have two options.
Yes.
Either recline to the shelf and lick your wounds, hoping that you will get something later, or you take the option that most Nigerian politicians used to take, switch allegiance and go to the ruling party so that at least you can get some crumbs. Because of the hunger in the society, because of the hunger in the economy, in the country, you see that politicians jump left, right, and center. And before I answer your question, I also want to make a point from what Prof also said, or the question you asked him and which you responded to. What we have presently in Nigeria is not opposition parties having dissenting voices. What we have at the moment are politicians that contested the elections and lost, criticizing the government. And what do I mean by this? I'm not saying this to mean that it's wrong what they are doing. But the political parties themselves don't have a voice. Peter Obi speaks in his capacity
as presidential
candidate, as the leader of the obedience movement.
The same thing with
former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, because of the the caliber of person he is. When he speaks, the media listens. That's why he speaks.
But why
not
is it
as his
so?
party.
Because, Clement, we have an umbrella body of opposition political parties.
IPAC?
The IPAC, for instance, even though it is also facing its own leadership crisis and so on. But I think that is an umbrella body that ought to be championed the cause of the opposition.
If you've been in states, you understand that what we call IPAC is just an umbrella body of people that are not in government that want to hit in with the government. What do I mean by this? I'm not saying at the national level that's what is playing out. It's possible at the national level, but at state level, where I've seen operated in the past 3 years, you notice that the people that make up the IPAC, although they belong to other smaller parties that lost the election, they only sing the praises of the ruling government in that state. The only time they speak against that is when they probably want to get something from the government and they have not gotten. So to answer your question, is because of what I said and what Prof has earlier said. The political party financial structures are so weak that parties themselves cannot even sustain themselves. Some parties cannot even afford to have a press briefing where they will just express themselves to interviews. And what do I mean by this? They don't have to pay journalists, but even to get to organize, to do all these things, they can't. Some parties cannot even put jingles in the newspaper, in the radio, and whatever,
they are capital
intensive, because they don't have this money. Ask Nigerians. So even in the ruling party, how many members of even the APC pay their dues?
I'm actually coming to that. Yes. I wanted to put that to Professor Kamal. Professor, you were talking about what is obtainable, in the First Republic and the Second Republic. And in those days, we've seen how political parties are functional, so to speak, are very strong, including the opposition parties. They were playing the key role they're supposed to play in terms of checkmating the excesses of the government in power. Clement has started talking about, party dues, but here we are with political parties that now go cup in hand, to the government in power for crumbs, so to speak, to take a cue from Clement. Is that the reason why they cannot stand on their feet, to play the role of opposition parties in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. It has been said severally that in Nigerian politics and Nigerian democracy has been monetized. It has been monetized. And this started in 1990s when Babangida came with the issue of NRC and SDP, building party secretariat for them, appointing chairman and secretary for them, funding them. So it's from that time that political parties have degenerated to mean waiting for government fund. If it were before the First and Second Republic, it is the members of the political parties that funded the party. They pay dues and they are proud for paying dues. The same thing is happening with our economy. If our tax system is strong, somebody will not mess up with our money. But we are living in a rentier society, whereby we're dependent on the rent from oil. So people don't care. It's not my money. It's not your money. It's the money that we found naturally from nature. I think we pay tax through sweat. Maybe it would have been better. The same thing with political parties then. People funded the political parties, they pay dues annually, monthly, weekly in some places. So the party is accountable to them. But when Babangida came in 1992 or so, or 1990, when he formed SDP and NRC, he said nobody should contribute again. All of us are joiner and founder. And the government started funding and funding the parties. So that's why we got it wrong.
Okay, Clement,
thank you very much.
Another fundamental issue, the need for coordination. He said opposition political parties in Nigeria are speaking on behalf of either, their parties or the individual candidate. Individual candidates are the ones talking. We've seen Peter Obi talking, criticizing government here and there, just like former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is also doing. But we have, the umbrella body for opposition political parties in Nigeria, which is IPAC. It is neither here nor there in terms of, playing the key role of opposition. What do you make up with this issue of coordination?
Are you?
Yes, Prof.
For me,
Yes.
it's okay. You know, the problem we have is that most of our thing, we are still in what WW rose to call the traditional stage of development. We are coming from traditional institutions, whereby we have emir, the obas, and obis, whom we give every power centralized within them, around them. So that's what we are doing with our political parties. Presidential candidate, if you're not careful, you will see that presidential candidates are the one funding the party at the federal level, at the state level. Governors, gubernatorial aspirants are the one funding the party at the state level. So at the end of the day, you will see that those individuals, they become a kind of a team god. As you have said, every party should have structure. There should be chairman. There should be public relation officer. There should be secretary. There should be treasurer. Go and see them now, they are not functioning. Somebody should be issuing press releases for each party. But it's presidential candidate that is doing that. You will not be surprised that even the APC ruling at the federal level, there's nothing serious going on at the secretariat of APC because the president is regarded as the leader of the party. And the president has taken over the party affairs, even from the Aso Rock, when he's supposed to separate the party affairs from the government affairs. So ditto for the opposition. So a Labour Party, the secretariat is not functioning now as it should be. The same thing with PDP. Is the presidential candidate that is not talking. He should not press releases as an individual. We shouldn't be. It should be the political party structure, the public relation officer, the secretary, who's supposed to be issued, the chairman. Remember the Second Republic, when NPN was in control, they will call meeting of NPN. The chairman, Adisa Akiloye, he will be the one to preside over the meeting. And Shehu Shagari will sit down as a member of the party. But from 1999, it's not so. They said the president is the owner of the party, sorry to say, is the chairman of the party, is the leader of the party. You have a chairman, but you say this is the leader of the party. Those are the things we found wrong since 1999.
Professor, how does this affect,
Thank you.
the issue of governance in Nigeria? Because one of the critical roles political opposition parties should play is, of course, providing alternative visions, alternative, policy options for government. Here we are in Nigeria having, challenges, arising from our policy options, the subsidy removal, for instance, and the plotting of the naira. But each time these opposition figures come up, they only criticize, they hardly provide alternative solutions to the problem. Do you see this as a challenge?
That's one of the challenges as well. You remember, during the campaign, the major political parties' presidential candidates also agree that subsidy removal is the way out. So when it's removed now, what are they going to criticize? Although they are saying that if they will not do it this way, they will have done it in a different way. But all of them keyed into the removal of the subsidy. Labour Party said it will remove subsidy. PDP said it will remove subsidy. APC said it will remove subsidy. And APC has removed subsidy now. And see what we are into. So they don't have any alternative ideology. No alternative programs. No alternative way out. They are only talking. And because most of us are not prepared, I do say it in some of my writings, that leadership is like, it's a science. It's not even like a science. It's a social science. You have to go and learn about it. You are not a driver. You do not learn about driving. You just carry a car and pack passenger inside and you are driving. Where are you driving to? You are driving to death, including the passenger, including the car, including yourself. Majority of our leaders have no leadership training. They don't have the leadership training. And when they don't have leadership training, they don't even know where to drive us to. They are just driving us to nowhere. And that's the main problem we are having. In the developed countries, most of them, they go when they are preparing that I have ambition. I want to be governor of my state in future. I want to be president of my country in future. They will go back to the classroom. If they are engineers, if they are lawyers, if they are accountants, if they are this, if they are that. They will go back and learn about leadership. Courses, 3 months, 6 months. They will be doing it repeatedly. Unfortunately for us here, most of our leaders, they don't go for any training. If they go, some of them will say they have gone to Harvard. Harvard's ecological environment is different from Nigeria. What they will teach you in America or Britain is how to lead in America, not how to lead in Nigeria. So those are the things we find so much a problem for us. We need to come to Nigeria, learn how to lead Nigerians. In political science class, that's what we call Nigerian government and politics. You must know Nigerian government and administration. It's Pol 101. It's even 100 level. That you need to know. If you don't know, you can't carry American political life, administrative life, and come and implement here. It will not work. It will never work. All those experts from World Bank, IMF, using all those American developed countries' economic theories to come and attend to our problems in Nigeria, it's not working, and it can never work. And the same thing most of us are doing. Most of our certificates, we believe foreign certificate is better than Nigerian certificates. People who come with certificate from abroad, we respect them. And those who come from Nigeria, we say it's a local certificate. Even conferences. Some people will call us, will tell us that, oh, this is local conference. You go to international conference before you are promoted to a professor or associate professor. You have to go for international conferences. The question is that international conferences with which audience? With which audience?
With international audience.
So thank you very much.
Okay. Clement, we seem to have a lot of disconnect. You know, Prof was talking about even understanding leadership in the first place.
Yes.
And beyond understanding leadership, we were talking about, you know, blueprint or ideology or master plan as to how to govern. So, political party structures are lacking, governance template is lacking, and leadership capacity or ability is lacking. So, where do we go from here?
I think before we know where we'll go from, I think just like Prof really looked at some of the historical antecedents, we really need to understand where our problem began. And for this dispensation, there is no further way to go. We don't need to go as far back as 1960. Our problem started in 1998. And what do I mean by 1998? When we were planning to move back to transit to the democratic governance, when the groups come together to form political parties.
From G7
yes, to G34 and later and all of that to form political parties. They had only one goal in mind. To take over from the military government. There was no idea of, if we take over, what will be the ideology that will guide our principle. All this continued 1999, 2003, we keep having people challenging, wanting to take over, using other political parties. When all this did not work, APP could not do it, AMPP could not do it, CPC could not do it. That was what formed the coming together, the merger that we saw in 2014 leading to 2015 election. The opposition then, what did they have in mind when they came together?
The outcome today,
to take over.
Yeah, the outcome today clearly speaks to that.
Definitely.
Because if actually they are coming as alternative.
So the two times that we've had a change in governance, it has always been from political parties or a political party that just want to take over. The 2015 now, over time now, it's been clear, just like you said, that there is nothing different when it comes to
if not retrogression, perhaps.
If not retrogression. Some will argue that it's retrogression. I will leave that for the economic people to really address. But politically,
if you look at the figures,
yes.
If you look at the statistics,
but politically, when you look, if you want to look at the figures and the statistics, who are the people that were in charge then? The same people. Maybe holding different positions, but these were still the same people holding this thing. Former President Goodluck Jonathan said something recently, I think about 1 or 2 weeks ago, that the real problem with our democratic system is the attitude of winner takes all. If we had imbibed the attitude of working with everyone, if you win the election,
you're talking about coalition government.
Coalition government, not really coalition not the unity governance as we used to say, but the person that emerged looking for talent wherever it exists,
not just necessarily within the
not
party,
just within this party
or within his cycle,
not just about giving appointment just to satisfy party system, and opposition parties also not just criticizing so that they will be seen to be talking
without providing alternatives.
Prof said something earlier. If you criticize based on facts, it will be difficult for anybody to dispute that. Most of the time, when you see that criticism is based on facts, when the ruling party want to react, what do? They avoid the issue and attack the person. But people have seen beyond that. But over time, most of the time, the criticism that we're even seeing is based on sentiments. And to answer your question, where do we go from here? I think it is a very difficult question.
What should be the starting line?
The starting line for political scientists, like Prof said,
yes.
I think the whole thing will just be, some have suggested that until we have that much desired thought force of people outside the institutional two parties coming together to form a group, and they have a goal. When we have that, the other parties will have to sit up and say, okay, where have we, these are the things we plan to do, where have we gone wrong? Because just like we keep saying that this party don't have manifestos, if you see, they don't have ideologies, if you see their constitutions, it's actually stated there.
That's right.
They have where they are supposed to lean. Of course they don't do that. Each of the parties have their neck that's supposed to be calling the government to order. As the APC is now, anytime the president takes some decision, the NEC is supposed to meet and check some of the decisions the president has taken, some of the decisions that their governors have taken, whether it's in line with their listening. PDP didn't do this for 16 years. The people that took over after PDP has also not been doing it. So
so there is a disconnect between the people in power and what is there in their constitution.
A major disconnect.
That's right. Professor Kamal, Clement just talked about something also very fundamental, that disconnect between those in power, position of power, and of course, what they have in the books. Earlier you were talking about how they are governing us, going through going through the theories, if you like, or looking at trying to import what is obtainable in other climes and wanting to use it for Nigeria. That is not working. How do we address this, or reconcile some of these conflicting issues? Professor Kamal?
I've said it earlier. Yes, I'm with you. Yes. I said it earlier. From 1999 to date, that's not what we experienced before 1999, whereby political parties are strong. They take decisions. Even before the president or the governor will take any decision, we refer back to the manifesto and the political party executives. But today, from 1999, it has changed. The president is the leader of the party, which means he has power over the executive. So the executive is not even given a breathing space to even check the policy of government, maybe it's in line with what is in the manifesto or the constitution of the party. That's another way where we got it wrong. The political parties are just there in name, but they are not there in action.
Yes, for instance,
at the state level,
the ruling party now, its direction, if you like, or government
at the state level,
philosophy is for the people, isn't it? It talks about, whatever it is going to do, it has to do, to be in public goods. And here we are with a government with such claims, coming up with policies that are anti-people, some would say.
But what we are saying, the party are not giving breathing space. At the state level, the governor is the leader of the party. The governor is not refining. The party are just there in name. They are toothless bulldog at the state level, at the federal level. At the local government, they are not even in existence, the political parties. So it's not easy for the political parties to even guide the policies of government when they are not even allowed to even breathe. As my colleagues there said, even to fund the political party at the federal level, unless the president give money or give you contract before you can run the parties. Ditto for states. If the governor is not giving you opportunity, the governor will be the one to even rent secretariat for them or build secretariat. He will be the one to be paying salary of the executive. So at the end of the day, the executive is weak. Ditto for federal.
But Prof, looking
Thank
at
you.
the law, perhaps there are laws establishing these political parties. INEC has a role to weed, at some point in checkmate. I mean, we've seen at some point INEC cutting down the number of political parties for their inability to perform, to participate actively in the electioneering process and so on. But as it is today, beyond just these three or four major political parties, a number of political parties are just existing by name. How would you rate, or assess the role of INEC in sanitizing the, political parties landscape in Nigeria?
The political parties in Nigeria are also, they have a kind of remuneration, a kind of support financially from INEC. That's why some people are going into the parties. Not that they know they will win election. They just go for the subvention that the INEC will give them. INEC one is minimal. What INEC can do is minimal. Political parties is an evolution. Political party system is evolution. It evolves from the people. The people are the one that form parties who have like minds. People of like minds, they form party with same ideology. Some people have ideology of helping people. Some people have ideology of saying, let me take everything. You go to hell if you don't have, if you cannot work. So those who have the same ideology must come together. Those who have different ideology should also come together. But we are not seeing the case this time around in Nigeria, and that's why we are in big problem. No ideology. Somebody cannot come and call people that this is my ideology. Let's come together. Even those who have the same ideology, maybe socialism, maybe welfareism. At the end of the day, they will scatter when they are fighting for position. Who will be the president? Who will be the vice president? That will scatter them. Because everybody wants to be president.
Professor, at some point...
So our ambition too, our blindfolded ambition. Some people are not worth more than senator. Some are not worth more than councillor or chairman of local government. They will go and print billboards because they have money. They want to become president of Nigeria. Some cannot even win a local government. And they will come out and say they want to be president of Nigeria. And then they scattered the party. Instead of them to know their level, know their intelligence.
Okay.
I'm with you.
I wanted to direct this question to you. Before now, there has been
I'm with you.
Outcry by the political parties now saying that the ruling party is, earlier Clement talked about that, muzzling the opposition, and we talked about we've mentioned the reason why that is happening also, because they control the resources and so on and so forth. But then we haven't seen any clear difference between those who get to position of leadership on different political platforms and the ones they are also criticizing. For instance, some of these political parties have representatives at the National Assembly, NMPP,
yes.
Labour Party, and the rest of it, the PDP. But when it comes to issues of national interest, they are always, in cahoots. They do the same. Nobody would rise up and say, no, based on my party ideology, XYZ would not happen. We've seen how SUBs were shared. None of the opposition members say
opposition rejected. None of them rejected it. That's the problem. We have been discussing this. We have said it, that there's no difference between APC, PDP, LP, Accord, and so on and so forth. It's just in name, in mind, in attitude, in ideology, in direction, in program, in policy. They are not different. They are the same. They are the same side of the coin. They are doing the same thing. Oppositions are controlling state level. Some opposition are controlling federal. They were there in the assembly, either National Assembly or the state Senate, the Senate or reps. And they are not doing anything different. But tomorrow they will come now and say, no, don't vote for APC, come and vote for a so. At the end of the day, you will see that there's no difference between them. And as we have observed, those who were in PDP last time, they were also in APC today.
Okay, Clement,
yes, I'm with you.
Right. Okay, Clement, how do we change the narrative? Because it seems we are operating a one-party state, so to speak.
Yes, that is mentioning one-party state. That is one of the things that former vice president and presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has been emphasizing on. And unfortunately, with the trajectory of things and with the way things have been going now, it's difficult to see any clear-cut plan by the opposition party to change the narrative. And what do I mean by this? We are, of course, we are more than 1 year after the election, but if you look at the way elections are run in Nigeria, we have less than 1.5 years or 1 year into another election period. And up to date, not one single opposition party among these 3 major ones that you're talking about that does not have internal crisis that is battling with. In fact, none of the opposition parties today can field a candidate that might not be challenged in court, even if that candidate wins the election. So how do you
think these challenges are self-made or imposed?
They are multifaceted.
Okay.
They are self-made in some instance, and in another instance, they are. You see, there's a popular saying in one of the Nigerian languages that if the wall is not cracked, a lizard cannot come in. Even when we're talking about ruling party,
adage.
Yes, it's also a Yoruba language.
Okay.
So that's why I say it's a Nigerian adage.
That's right.
So if there is no issue within these political opposition parties, it's difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's difficult for the ruling party to penetrate. But because the opposition parties, so to say, are all about getting what they can get. Just like Prof said,
struggling for survival,
struggling for the crumbs that they can get. Just like Prof said, and almost all of us know, even all the parties, most of the parties, you notice that it's either the governor, the minister, the president that is funding.
Some political parties are even said to be established or created to provide backings for some of those.
Exactly. When former president Muhammad Buhari wanted to run,
right,
it was from AMPP before APP. CPC was built all around them. We removed Buhari from the CPC, there was no other party. So in that kind of instance, for his own case, it was not about money, it was because of his court followership. But what we have these days, just like Prof said, and I want to, before I give a solution, I want to trace back to the problem.
Very quickly,
the problem is when the leadership structure of political parties were changed, when governors were made leaders at state level, when the president became the same. And that leads me to the solution. There needs to be an holistic change in the way the leadership structures of our political parties are made. Governors, by sheer being a governor, does not have to be a leader of the party. He should be a member like every other one. He's a stakeholder, of course. But then, first and foremost, party financiers must be looked into. Party members must be paying dues. If you're paying dues, even at ward level, you can challenge your ward executives. If you are paying dues at local government level, you can challenge your executives up to the national level. But how many pay? So moving forward, that political parties must be financially independent before they can stand their ground and talk, and people will listen to them.
Right. Okay, Professor, we're rounding up. Let me get your last line. How do we change this narrative?
Okay. Thank you very much. In addition to what has been said, I want to say that unless individuals who are in the opposition party change their attitude, they should not be going to the ruling party to be looking for crumbs. If they can stand, majority are not even hungry like that we were talking about, but it's greed. Many of them are rich, they are millionaires, they are billionaires, but they are still looking for more and become puppets in the hands of the ruling party. Unless we have people that we can rally around, and the masses are eager, they want to see somebody or people that they can rally around in.
National Open University of Nigeria. And Clement Oloyede, Group Politics Editor, Media Trust. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And viewers, that's a wrap on today's edition of the program. I do hope you had a wonderful time watching. Join us tomorrow. We'll be back with another interesting personalities and topic. Until then, I'm Shafi'u Suleiman. Many thanks for being there.